Today we're taking an in-depth look at one of the biggest young superstars of the game, Bukayo Saka, a man who, at the fragile age of just 22, has already lived through so much drama and delivered so much in the great game of football we all unreasonably and obsessively love so much. But let's start at the beginning. Bukayo Ayoyinka Temideo Saka was born on the 5th of September 2001 in Ealing, Greater London, to Nigeria parents Adenike and Yomi Saka. His parents emigrated to London from Nigeria as economic migrants, and his name Bukayo originates from the Yoruba language spoken in southern Nigeria, where his parents are from, and it means adds to happiness. Hard to deny that even the appearance of Bukayo generally brings happiness to most, except perhaps the most extreme of rival fans. Bukayo does have an older brother, Yomi, who plays as a defender in the Watford youth team until around the age of 14, before deciding to focus on his education instead. But Bukayo, who also played for the Watford youth team, took a different path and rose through the ranks at Arsenal, joining their youth academy at the tender age of 7. At age 17, he signed a professional contract with Arsenal and made his debut for the team in 2018 in a Europa League game. It was clear to anyone watching at that time that this was a young man who was a bit different from the average academy graduate. He started playing in his early days in the Arsenal first team as a left back, but it started to become abundantly obvious very quickly that he was better used further forward. And he excelled, cutting in from the right wing with his left foot to deliver accurate crosses and pinpoint powerful shots. Now, there's a few things about Bukayo Saka that set him apart from most others, and we're going to break them down here to try and portray a true picture of this prodigious young talent. Number 1, his football brain. A slightly lesser known fact about Saka is that he's a genuinely very smart young man. He achieved 4 A stars and 3 A's in his GCSEs, which certainly helps to paint a different portrait from the stereotypical brain-dead footballer.
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football. Where does that come from?
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
And he seems to have been able to transfer his academic intellectualism onto the pitch. One of the traits that helped him stand out as he broke into the team was his decision-making and understanding of what the game demands, a classic phrase from old Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger. He very, very rarely makes the wrong decision, whether it's a simple pass, a cross, a dribble or a shot. He seems to intuitively know what the right thing to do is when he receives the ball, and many Arsenal and England fans take for granted just how difficult a skill that is, especially for a player still in the infancy of his career. It's part of what's propelled him into one of England's nailed-on starters under that strange man Gareth Southgate. Saka can be relied on for his consistency of effective output, and even if he doesn't score or assist, he generally performs well most of the time. Number 2, mastery of position. This could be seen potentially as both a blessing and a curse, but Saka has become so effective in his position at right wing that he pretty much plays every minute of every game. He's developed an uncanny ability not too dissimilar from Dutch great Arjen Robben, where defenders very often know exactly what he's about to do, but despite that, they can't stop him. That ability to cut inside and shoot is such a dangerous weapon, and his immense body strength allows him to bounce defenders away at will. Number 3, mentality. Everyone remembers what happened in the Euros final against Italy when he missed a deciding penalty and England lost. For many players, especially at that tender age, that could have mentally broke them and essentially ruined their career at the highest of levels. But that didn't happen to Saka. The support he received no doubt helped, but the unfortunate incident seemed to instill in him a new and greater sense of determination, and he has become what many young punks on the internet would call a mentality monster. He's Arsenal's penalty taker and never shies away from duty. He's on the record as saying he wants to be the man at Arsenal who takes responsibility and scores the goals, citing his hero Thierry Henry. It takes a very special mentality to be able to handle the pressure of an entire nation at such a young age, and to be able to bounce back so effectively from such disappointment. But he isn't perfect, and there is room for improvement, which makes the case for Saka eventually becoming one of the greats of the game even more exciting. There are those that believe he has become effectively nullified in games much more often than ever this season, and teams are figuring out how to stop him. Essentially, just double up on him every time he gets the ball. Saka gets fouled a lot, and there might be a case for those who say he isn't quite as electric a dribbler as he was at the age of 18, when it was a regular sight to see him burst away from defenders in a one-on-one situation. That could just be because he's being doubled up on so there's less space to run into, but it could also be a consequence of how often he's kicked and fouled. Saka limping compilations are unfortunately becoming more common online, and we know he's been carrying an Achilles issue most of this season and is finally being rested as a result by Arteta. but could that have contributed to a slight dip in his explosive dribbling ability? That prolonged exposure on the pitch we mentioned earlier for someone his age has also seen his ascent to the higher echelons of the game happen at a rapid pace, but it's also led to worries about burnout. His manager Mikel Arteta has claimed that the greats of the game need to be playing 50, 60 or 70 games a season, but has that general unwillingness to rest or rotate him, aside from recent injury-plagued months, led to potential irreversible damage? Jack Wilshere is the obvious example of a cautionary tale that can happen when a young, highly rated player with a proclivity for being fouled is played too often, and it would be devastating for Arsenal and England if Saka suffered a similar fate. But despite those risks and areas of improvement, we here at the Score FC believe this brilliant young man is only just getting started in the game. We can see him continuing to improve and deliver on the highest stage, to the point where all of our uneducated, unpaid interns are unanimous in requesting Saka 7 shirts for their work Christmas gift one year, despite whatever rival team they support. Of course, we'll deny their requests like we do every year and demand that they work overtime so that the fat cats at the top can get a much deserved break, but it'll be further proof that this popular and wildly talented young man has what it takes to eventually become one of the very best to do it in the game. Until next time, Score fans,